October 2023. Behind the heavy glass doors of Abercrombie & Fitch headquarters in Columbus, Ohio, a 22-year reign of total executive authority didn't just bend, it completely collapsed. A BBC investigation shattered the corporate wall, revealing that beneath the high-margin, perfume-soaked empire, former CEO Mike Jeffries and his partner ran a global, highly organized sex trafficking operation, luring young male models across the world under the promise of modeling careers.
Oh my gosh, it is just terrifying, Simon. Absolute horror behind the brand.
Right. And today on the show, we're looking at the brutal corporate mutiny that followed. How executive team members who spent decades nodding along suddenly pulled out the corporate knives, turned the brand into a wholesome haven for suburban moms, and left their former ruler to face federal agents alone. Welcome back to the show, everybody. I am Simon Carver.
And I am Emily Culver. And before we pull back the curtain on this C-suite takeover, remember to hit follow on your podcast app so you never miss an episode. Now, Simon, to understand how this mutiny happened, you really have to understand the sheer tyranny of the kingdom Jeffries built in the late 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah, because he didn't just run a clothing chain, right? He constructed this high-margin cult of exclusionary elitism. He famously declared that Abercrombie was strictly for cool, good-looking people. And for years, he literally refused to manufacture women's clothing above a size large because he explicitly did not want certain body types wearing his logo.
It was absurd. And the corporate executives just sat there, nodded, pocketed their stock options, and ignored every single warning sign. But it wasn't just store policy. The corporate manual for his private Gulfstream 5 jet was legendary for being completely unhinged.
Wait, the flight manual? What was in it?
Okay, listen to this. The manual dictated the exact length of the male flight attendant's underwear. It specified how many times they had to flip the toilet paper rolls. And every single request from Jeffries had to be answered with the phrase, "no problem."
No problem? You couldn't even say yes or right away? It had to be no problem?
Zero deviations. It was complete, total autocratic control. And inside the retail stores, oh man, it felt like entering a dystopian nightclub. I actually remember walking into an Abercrombie in 2004, and it was a sensory nightmare.
Oh, tell me you bought the cologne, though.
You couldn't escape it. You would open the heavy wooden doors and step into pitch black darkness. The bass from the house music was literally thumping in your chest so hard you couldn't hear yourself think. And the store clerks were constantly spraying clouds of fierce cologne into the air conditioning vents every 15 minutes.
It was designed to intimidate, right? Like, if you weren't part of the cool crowd, you felt like an intruder.
Precisely. It was hypersexualized, exclusionary, and completely uncomfortable. And for 2 decades, top leadership allowed it because the money was rolling in.
Until late 2023, when that BBC investigation dropped. And suddenly, the C-suite realized the legacy wasn't just toxic or embarrassing anymore. It was federally illegal. Middlemen had been scouting attractive young men in London, Venice, and New York, bringing them to private events where they were allegedly coerced into sex acts and had their passports confiscated.
Right. And that is when current CEO Fran Horowitz and her leadership team realized they were standing on a ticking nuclear weapon. So they executed what might be the coldest corporate mutiny in retail history.
They didn't just distance themselves, did they? They pulled a total Soviet-style erasure.
Absolute erasure. The legal team immediately cut all remaining deferred compensation and health benefits to Jeffries. They severed every invisible financial thread tying him to the company. And while legal was scrubbing his name off internal servers, marketing was doing something even crazier.
They reversed the entire algorithm, didn't they?
Overnight, they systematically ripped out the dark-tinted glass from the storefronts, they turned off the thumping bass, they stopped spraying fierce cologne, they widened the store aisles so suburban moms could push strollers through.
Strollers in an Abercrombie. Mike Jeffries must have been losing his mind.
It was an ice-cold ideological betrayal. They introduced inclusive sizing, adaptive clothing lines, and wide-leg linen pants aimed squarely at 30-something office workers. They used the exact same supply chain infrastructure Jeffries built to sell soft-knit bodysuits to the very people he spent 20 years mocking.
And the wildest part? Wall Street loved it. The stock price skyrocketed to record highs. The C-suite got to parade around like visionary cultural reformers, taking credit for fixing a broken culture using his own machine. Then came October 2024. Federal agents arrested 80-year-old Mike Jeffries and his partner, Matthew Smith, in Florida. The indictment charged them with criminal sex trafficking and interstate prostitution, detailing years of systemic abuse in brutal clarity.
And when the press rushed to Abercrombie & Fitch for a statement, expecting maybe some cautious, carefully worded corporate regret, the C-suite dropped the hammer.
They released a public statement saying the company was, quote, appalled and disgusted by the alleged behavior of Mr. Jeffries, end quote. According to reports from CNBC, Abercrombie stressed that his employment ended nearly 10 years ago, that today's company is a values-driven organization with zero tolerance for abuse, and that they are fully cooperating with federal law enforcement.
They positioned themselves not as the executives who sat in his boardrooms for years while the culture flourished, but as the heroic champions who swept away his filth to save the balance sheet.
Which brings up the real question we have to ask here. Can a corporate leadership team truly wash its hands of a founder's systemic dark side just by changing the clothing sizes and redecorating the lobby?
It is the ultimate clown shoe club move, right? When the system works, everyone takes the stock options. When the system breaks, everyone acts like they just walked into the building yesterday.
Here is today's Club Genius takeaway. If a company culture requires total compliance and silence to function, it isn't an empire. It is just a crisis waiting for a headline. Question the authority before you end up sweeping the floor. Thanks for listening, everyone. We will catch you next time.